right, let's cross to Mandera County. Senator, I'll start with you. Of course, another attempt on the governor's life there. We saw the senator also talking about numerous calls they made to the national government to ramp up security. There was a center that had been set up there in terms of security. Later on, it was taken away. And even saying that it's a town, a county now that has been taken over pretty much by al-Shabab. What do you make of the insecurity incidents we're seeing in Mandera?
Yeah, but you know, I share a forum with the Senator, Bilokero, and I've heard his concerns. In fact, we did approve a motion that he brought for some fact-finding mission of a joint committee of the Legal Committee and the Security Committee, which did visit Mandera to address some of the underlying causes. We've had a lot of issues where, for instance, even in the Mandera attacks, the allegations are that the MP, the military was made aware well in advance, you know, that there's an impending attack, and therefore, please, you know. But I think there's also some laxity. And you see, this attack is detrimental on the basis that we're trying to reassure the teachers and the nurses and government workers that, listen, it is easy. We will be able to protect you. We will be able to assure you of your security, guarantee you of your security. What the al-Shabab tried to do was to say, not only are you not safe coming here, the apex leader of the county himself is not safe. So I think for me it's a very scary prospect for Mandera County. I think what we need to do is to deploy our resources, physical and intelligence resources, to ensure that we secure Mandera County. Because yes, I know we share a border with the porous Somali, you know, which is lawless, and I'm told just right outside the Kenyan border is part of the al-Shabab stronghold. The fact that maybe some part of this pushback of al-Shabab having gone for us having pushed the al-Shabab out to Kismayu, maybe we might want to now have a credible deployment of our security forces to deter, so that the people of Mandera can enjoy development. Development is a precondition. I mean, security is a precondition to development. You take away you bring in insecurity, the underdevelopment creeps in, and we know these areas have been largely underdeveloped, marginalized on account of insecurity. So I think the government, in fact, I even told Bilo, the best who has speak about it, the Mandera government is a Jubilee government. In fact, Mandera is one of the counties that almost voted 100% Jubilee, if you look at their voter turnout. And therefore, it's payback time. It's a question of reciprocity. Yeah.
All right. Weda, those who look at the government's inaction in this particular case over Mandera go to say that it just fuels the narrative of the many that feel that Mandera is treated as though it is not part of Kenya.
First of all, I don't think it's government inaction. I really don't think.
What has government done?
Now, let me tell you, when you sit in Nairobi and you're sipping very nice coffee, you don't understand that Mandera is bigger than Nyanza and Western Province put together, with very few people and large terrain. In fact, for you to go and buy a packet of milk, you need a chopper from one station to the next. Now, that requires a lot of resources, okay? And insecurity has been a challenge that you can see reorganization here and there. The Inspector General, a new one is coming. Nkaiseri, we borrowed from their side to come and assist. It's in that reorganization, the part which is missing is the people themselves. And I remember when the president one time said, security begins with you, they almost swallowed him. We almost swallowed him alive for saying that. So that challenge is still there. And it is very sad that the governor is under threat. But I really think that action is being taken, although with minimal resources, because there's little money, you have to put
That's
money.
The problem, right now, even as you explained, there's not one thing you can point to that at least, it's one thing to take action. Of course, some security issues cannot be discussed. It's another for something to be seen to be done.
What is it that you expect? Bombs and so on. Part of the action is this. Our security forces are in Somali, driving these people, okay? Some of them are running to this side. There are other forces on this side, although they are few. That is why sometimes they are overwhelmed. But to say there's nothing would be saying too much.
Do you think the governor should be given an armored vehicle as he's requesting?
An armored vehicle, I think unless you get that type the Obama has, it will be more risky, the beast. Because there are bigger hand grenades that they'll just put under it, and they eliminate the governor. And even now, my worry is that when al-Shabab and all these shenanigans are quiet, we don't know what they are planning. I hope the people in the intelligence know, so that they don't take us by huge surprise. So you maintain there's something happening? There's so much. There's so much.
I mean, I think the Jubilee senator will not constantly raise on issues in Parliament of government inaction if he actually did believe that there was action being taken. Because I think he has no interest, first and foremost, to undermine a government that he's part of. But when he speaks matters of Mandera, you might sometimes believe he's on the court side of the government, because people eventually represent the interests that elected them to office. And the interests here are the people of Mandera, for Bilokero and all of us. And you see, this whole narrative of marginalization is being partly fueled by people like my brother Weda, saying you need a chopper to go buy a packet of milk. It's not. People live there, and people have livelihoods, which I think we have some of the best brains that have ever come from Mandera County. Bilokero is one of them. We have Mohamed Aden, former CEO of Barclays Bank, now the Minister for, I think, is it industrialization? Some of the best brands have come from Mandera. Some of the wealthiest people have come from Mandera. In fact, so it's this whole theory of marginalization that we are so far away, because I regard myself also as partly connected to that community across the northern Kenya, is a narrative of marginalization. It's so, I think, and marginalization means that you want to say that the challenges are so enormous that the government is overwhelmed. What happens is, if the challenge, like what happened in Mpeketoni, once it happened, because there's a general sense the president appeared so angry, thinking that a certain community was being targeted by others, and they deployed literally everything that they could. They deployed the minister.
Speaking of, have you watched that clip that had been released, the video in Mpeketoni in that time?
I've tried to Google it, but apart from the narrative that I've read,
you didn't watch it?
By David Ochami, I've not watched the main thing itself. Okay. So what's happened? What has happened? But I can tell you that these organizations are extremely active. They have even a monthly publication in Kiswahili. It's an online publication. Gaidi Mtaani. You
should look for it and watch it. And
Gaidi Mtaani. I have seen every other day when you Google, there is a clip on one set of propaganda or another to reach out to recruit particularly young Kenyans. But then, just to finish that bit, therefore I think when an area has been marginalized for that long, then there's government responsibility to ensure that its investment is a lot more. Yeah, and he makes a very good point. I mean, the senator who's Jubilee, constantly, even his last article, was it Saturday, I think, or yesterday, he was still again calling a national government to do more. So this inaction that many are saying, including their leaders.
There's one part I'm saying, that all this depends on resources. Resources they control. They are the ones who control. Resources ni kidogo sana.
All right,
let me also demystify this notion. Jubilee, the Parliament, particularly the National Assembly, is just one big mob that is able to do anything that is directed to them by the Jubilee government. There's really no discourse in that Parliament about how much monies we allocate, these kinds of interests that are balanced in that particular way. Do we take more money?
Because of the tyranny of numbers.
So when they bring a security law amendment bill and we tell them it's unconstitutional, they have to wait for the Supreme Court to quash it, or the High Court. So it's not true that there is any real engagement. In Parliament.
All right, in the question of al-Shabab, so the National Assembly Majority Leader Eden Duale quoted and is hard on a clip and an interview at BBC, saying that perhaps some religious leaders should be sent over to talk to al-Shabab, negotiate. Yesterday, I think it was, he posted on Twitter recanting that and saying there is no way negotiations would happen. What do you make of the majority leader's statements in speech?
Let me assume, and I want to go by his what he recanted, that he didn't say it. But even if he said
it,
but even if
BBC.
Even if he said it, I think we should accept that Aden Duale talks freely, and you take his words.
And when you say talks freely, you mean
what it means is
recklessly?
That he talks loosely, like a water which has come flowing.
So it doesn't marry it.
He doesn't marry it with his position as leader of a majority. He doesn't marry it with the government position. He doesn't marry it with this nation. He just talks because it is necessary to talk. So as a country, at times, when he talks, you cross-check. For this one, he has denied.
That is wrong. As a majority leader of the National Assembly, people should not have to cross-check what you say. It should be the gospel truth, if anything. Senator, what do you make of this?
You know, I pity Aden Duale. Whenever he holds these silly Jubilee briefs, even against his own people, he is celebrated. Whenever he expresses an opinion that I think sometimes could have even some speck of strategy in it, he's vilified. Duale is in a very interesting position. I even sometimes when I meet him, I tell him, my brother, what is this? You know, the way does insult you every other day, you know. Look at us, look at me. There are so many things that I do say that might not be music to everybody's ears. Yeah, but our code membership appreciates that we have an opinion and we represent a certain constituency. In fact, at times when I will be called silently by some of our leaders and say, that is a little on this side, please keep it here on the middle, you see, because we are appreciated, and you feel it when you appreciate it.
So what do you serve his suggestions to negotiate? Let me tell you, and I fear nobody. The US is negotiating with the Taliban in Afghanistan, because eventually, this bravado that we shall not negotiate, even though they might not be doing a direct negotiation. Countries like Qatar is hosting talks between Taliban, the Afghan government, and other, other partners. So in terms of a holistic strategy, you have to have several fronts upon which you open to disseminate. So you are for negotiations with al-Shabab?
Eventually, and this even the president of, I hope the president of Somalia, because his interest must be Somalia. Yeah, he eventually he must look for a way to get al-Shabab on the table, so that to diffuse the kind of in an unpredictable state of insecurity.
All right, so Kenya should negotiate with al-Shabab to see things
that's
change?
a bravado in Nairobi, but in Mogadishu they must eventually look for a way in which they can engage with.
I really don't think that Mogadishu and the rest would be bad from negotiating with anybody. But the way these al-Shabab people are treating us, they're simply saying our agenda is to annihilate the people of Kenya. That's all we want. And we will look for any excuse. Today you went to...
is it the entire country or the perceived lands that they own?
When they come and bomb people in Nairobi and in Kisumu and in... It's the entire country. It's only that they can't get their hands, but if they were able. So when Aden Duale talks about negotiation, is it in the context of security issues? Is it in the context of politics? Is it in the context... As at today, I don't think there's any ground for any negotiation when somebody has declared war on you.
So that could change. It could get to a point where you should negotiate with al-Shabab?
No.
Okay.
I think
this is bravado that we say here. I can tell you for a fact, big powers negotiate with these people. Even if they say indirectly, they negotiate with them. And the comprehensive strategy for Somalia in Kenya is to first retool the Somali National Army so that they can take the position of the AMISOM. Secondly, is to ensure that the total and complete withdrawal of all foreign troops. Thirdly, is a social strategy that means you de-radicalize and disarm. Fourthly, is to ensure that you build a cohesive Somalia, and that means including the rehabilitation of those who are in the al-Shabab ranks. Yeah, it is called if Saudi Arabia has a program for returnees, Saudis who've engaged in war fronts across the world, the jihadists, and therefore they know that they ultimately they are their daughters, their sons, and they put them through a process of rehabilitation. Okay. And these are things that must be done. Let's not have this bravado in Kenya, which is devoid of fact and strategy.
So another by-election is in the offing later on in the year, in May, I think, should be in Cabete, and it appears to be a new lease of life for Ferdinand Waitito. He won the JAP nomination by a huge margin. So before we talk about the ruling that allowed Wilson Mburu to also be part of that nomination, do you see integrity issues again coming? Sorry?
Wilson Mburu is going to... Really?
Not our Wilson Mburu, not my colleague. Wilson Mburu, I think, can get there. I also thought I was like, Wilson Mburu, but not my colleague, not Mr. Mook the Week. No, he's also Wilson Mburu. There are many around.
I would have thought he had left a good career.
And he started to go into politics.
I was like,
yeah, he couldn't go to both.
I would have taken up that position in Walk the Week myself. I said, this man.
You should tell him you want to host it sometime. Anyway, back to Mr. Ferdinand Waititu. So he's won the ticket, but you remember he couldn't get take over the position of board chair Athi Waters after someone moved to court over integrity issues, which the court agreed that had not been interrogated before he was appointed chair. So now he has the ticket. He could be going back to politics, but could integrity issues lock him out once more?
I really don't think. I think even what the court was looking at was looking at it wrongly. I don't think it would come. If it was integrity issues, we would have dissolved our parliament long time ago, because why so and so has this, so and so has this, so and so has this. I really don't think, my view, that would stop him, especially when we are coming to law, then elective positions have a different standard. Remember, even President
lower
Uhuru,
standards than ever.
Different. Remember President Uhuru, remember the deputy president, they went to election facing international criminal cases. So that would not come in. But the other integrity issues which are not in court are allegations, just like the Secretary General of ODM has his issues, and there are allegations. What I know would affect Mheshimiwa Waititu, my good friend, where he has gotten nominations, being in JAB or DNA or URP may not be the yardstick alone. Unlike if I got that one in Kisumu. If I got ODM in Kisumu, it doesn't matter, I know I'll buy. But where he comes from, they can still say, we don't like you. And even if the president went there with tears, crying and saying, give me a JAB candidate, they will still not tell him no, they will not throw any stones at him. But during voting time, they come. That is why you saw Moses Kuria had to be rescued with a separate package. Otherwise, if he was left on the ballot, TNA would have just lost, and they would say, oh, he's lost, and this is.
Yeah.
That's for us, as Weda has rightly put it, it's like what happened in Homer Bay. You know, you made it appear like Jubilee is giving CORD a run for its money, or ODM. What was happening, all of them who were running said they're in CORD. You know, the Okundi, Alila, all of them said they were in CORD. Everybody said they were in CORD. So even in this territory that is that we have in this election, it's a Jubilee territory. It's how the parties will manifest itself in terms of which party is popular and which candidate is popular. And if we participate in this kind of an election, it's just to go put up posters in those types of constituencies, which is a good thing in terms of marketing the party. So I think sometimes it is important to show visibility. You see, like Jubilee didn't even attempt to have a candidate in Homer Bay because they know the adversity that they will face. So I think it is important sometimes to just go and put some posters and show that, you know, democracy is such that we do not alienate any constituency. We do not just, you know, not the cliche that Luo Nyanza is ODM and therefore it is court. So we want to, I was presenting a case where maybe if a candidate does present himself seeking our party nomination, or any of our parties, then we will give them. But there also those are intrigues where people say at the last minute somebody embarrasses the party or the coalition and says, now I'm withdrawing, I was not given enough support by CORD and all that type of stuff. You don't even know who they can position. So there, people are very anxious that you might end up saying, yes, we want to appear that we are able to run a candidate anyway, even if we'll get 5 votes. But then, you give that platform for somebody to cast aspersions on the party.
Yeah. So Wilson Boro Kangede, who we're talking about, he's a former State House employee who is seeking to run for this Cabete seat as well. So he'd moved to court to petition the electoral law that locks out basically public officers not to run for office if they've not quit their offices 6 months prior to the election. And so the judge ruled that civil servants now interested in politics won't have to vacate office 6 months prior, because you see, for by-elections you don't have that long of a time. It's 90 days, which is 3 months. Automatically you're locked out, and we've seen the likes of Gorsta Milango in the past get locked out. So what do you think of that ruling in and of itself?
I think it is, in my view, it is correct in the sense that actually people should even run when they're in the offices. They should hold an office
Really?
Oh yes, this fear and all sorts of things that you will use your office to get a position. You have seen even a sitting president in there. You saw our president going to Kajiado. Even if he went to Kajiado, that may not turn people so much. People are not that zombie or moron-like. But using elections as punishment, that you cannot just take leave from KT and say, I'll be away for 3 months. Within that 3 months, I can do my studies, I can do exams, or I can contest for any election. And if I don't get it, I come back. That is the nature. That is what happens in America. It happens wherever. But as we have some strange kind of voodoo democracy, where going to contest elections is like going to hell, you have to leave everything. So I think, in my view, the ruling is very nice, in the sense that it allows us to continue developing democracy in another 5, 10, 15 years.
Okay.
People will you'll just live here, 3 months, you contest, you come back.
That judgment is extremely progressive. It has been, in my opinion, even from the time I was in the Commission on Human Rights, this whole hula baloo about public servants. We only expect neutrality, objectivity, impartiality in the execution of his or her mandate within those public offices they hold. In fact, for me, I have no problem even civil servants having membership cards of parties. It's their democratic rights of association. You can't limit it. And you know, these whole caveats we put in for, and that's why you find you know, governments in power taking advantage of the fact that, I remember when Kiraitu Murungi told civil servants that they were under obligation to campaign for the referendum, or on the yes side at that point in time, and we said, to that extent where they remain impartial, objective, and non-partisan in the execution of their mandate, I have no particular issues. So I have no issues about Sophia Wanuna being in ODM, for as long as when she's in the studio as an anchor, she is an anchor who's a professional, and we all are quite confident of her professional neutrality or objectivity. That is all we ask, and that, I think, this is one of the most progressive, and our legal jurisprudence must continue to evolve. Let public servants be clearly manifest. That, in fact, it is important. So, because sometimes I've gone to offices and you find people working very, very robustly to serve a certain group. That pretense that you are not in any party is not true. Okay. So if we know your party affiliations, at least we will know that if you are an ODM member or a WIPA member, you will not deny Weda the benefit of his services, because you saw him on TV holding brief for Jubilee, and vice versa. So that type of a situation.
Let's talk matters graft. And last week, a lot happened in as far as the Public Accounts Committee is concerned. Ababu releasing that recording, and Rama completely distancing himself from it, saying that, yeah, it's some work that was done on River Road. It's not real. It did not enough fact happen. He's never in a meeting with Ababu, and the other people claim to have been in that meeting. What do you make of what Ababu's play has been this whole time, Weda?
Last time we were here, I said Ababu's time is written on the wall. He has lived a full life very quickly, from law school to here, to there, to cabinet, to Secretary General. He has done the full circle. He can only come down or be president or deputy president. What he has done by recording people and recording people and telling people that when you are near me, be very careful, that he has punctured the very core of leadership. Raila will not trust him. He will not trust him. The other MPs will not. What does that mean? Leadership is given to you by your peers first. His peers will not trust him. And then he is not saying, I am not corrupt, I never received a call. He's simply saying, we received as a group, let us go down. We have not asked him, we didn't send him to show us who.
Well, he has said he didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't say on interviews he did not.
We are not looking at the words. We are looking at the body language.
Okay.
The body language actually says, I did it, but we were many, so we are not. When you say, I'll not go down alone, it means you have accepted your fate that you are going down, but the others. We didn't send him. We sent only Mumu Matemu and his team to look for those people who are corrupt. We didn't send Ababu Namaba. He has been caught in the act. The earlier he leaves, the better. And we remember was saying with the Mheshimiwa of Ugunja here, that if you attack Baba, there's always a saying there that if you are not on Baba's side, something bad will happen. Baba wanted Zani, and it is appropriate opportunity for now Zani to come in. If I was a Babu, I would minimize the damage, minimize it by saying, gentlemen and ladies of the country, I'm innocent. But because of this, let me leave.
But isn't that what he's trying to do before you cross to Kajiado Central, Senator? Isn't that what he's trying to do, to clean his name, to come out?
I mean, I have told him to his, when I was in a meeting with him that his quest to clear his name is legitimate. Like every other person, we owe him that responsibility to you know, to be heard, and to be heard in a manner, in a process that is objective and impartial, and can dispense justice. He has his own misgivings about the process by the Privileges Committee. He has misgivings about, you know, the entirety of how the process is being handled, and he asked for a public hearing. So I think all these are part of a legitimate campaign on my assessment, or for any individual put in a position of that nature to be able to you know, to demonstrate his integrity and credibility, because this is a direct attack and onslaught on his credibility or in integrity. What after the fact?
How he's going about doing it?
After the fact, whether he is cleared or not, what decisions he makes will be the distinction between his act of statesmanship and leadership, for that matter, or just the, you know, the usual political theatrics that we have. Because I also am now one of the 3 Secretary Generals of the movement code, and I also now by extension hold party and coalition positions, and I know that there is a lot of ground internally which we have tried to manage. And some of these issues have been articulated by very close officials of the various parties, that, you know, when we sit in a meeting, and I think that's what he needs to demonstrate. Okay. When we sit in a meeting, we talk very, sometimes very delicate issues. People are saying
so
they
you're
shudder.
a bit worried as well. You shudder there.
The people say, I'm not, myself, I'm not worried. Because I think nothing that I say in-house or in camera is illegal. So, but I want us to ensure that we are able to maintain that goodwill that leadership must characterize. Okay,
and we'll continue this discussion shortly. Let's first cross to Kajiado Central. It's D-Day there. The by-election already kicked off. 6 a.m. polling stations, at least most, already open. My colleague is not with me in studio, Michael Gitonga, because he's in Kajiado Central, and he now joins us live. Michael, you said already people voting there, many of them enthusiastic, looking forward to know who their next representative in the National Assembly will be. What else can you tell us now?
Well, Sophia, yes, we still have people streaming in, and voting, like we said earlier on, began and has been going on smoothly. And with me here is Margaret Wanjiro. We are currently at the Kajiado Township Primary School, and she is the presiding officer for this particular polling station. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Margaret, initially when we started voting, when you officially opened the polling station, there were a few challenges. What were the challenges that were there?
Yeah, the problem I experienced is that some voters, we were able to detect them in the EVID machine, but when it comes to the register, we could not be able to find their names there.
Okay, and has that now been sorted out?
Yeah, it has been sorted out.
How was that sorted out? Does that mean they did or did not vote?
They voted.
Okay, how was that sorted out?
Those people who were found in the EVID machine and were not found in the register, we allowed them to vote.
Okay, now you're currently using the biometric system, and if that's not possible, if that doesn't work, you're using the manual. How is the biometric system working?
It is working 99%. It is working because we have only detected 2 cases whereby the 2 voters came. We were able to find them in the EVID machine, but when it comes to the register, we were not able to find them. But the EVID machine is working 100%.
Okay, and I noticed that they're using their thumbprint. Can you explain that, how that works? Because I thought the biometric also has the computer, the laptop, but this particular one is the handheld one. How is that working, and how does it work?
Yeah, the clerk number 1 is supposed to place the
thumbprint.
Mm-hmm. to that Evid machine and the top there. And if he or she is able to detect him or her, then he's going to move to the second clerk number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is doing the manual?
Who is doing the manual, that is checking the register there, the clerk number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how many voters approximately do we estimate that are registered in this particular polling station?
Yeah, in this polling station, stream number 1, we are supposed to have 667 voters. Yeah.
And what would you term the turnout so far?
So far, we have reached 78.
Okay, that have voted successfully and are on their way.
Yeah.
Okay. What time roughly do you think that the voting should be done at this particular polling station so that you can begin the preliminary reports?
Yeah, the voting will go on until 5 p.m. Okay. Yeah, because we started exactly at 6 a.m.
Anybody who comes in after 5, what happens?
Yeah, at 5, exactly 5, that is the time that we are supposed to close. So those who are going to come afterwards, we are not going to allow them. But those who will be in that line, we are going to allow them to vote.
Okay, and have we had any other challenges apart from those that you initially had in the beginning?
No.
So all is going well?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it is going well.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Margaret. There you have it, Sophia. Margaret Wanjiru, who is the presiding officer at this particular polling station, saying that all is going well. So far, above 70 who have voted out of 600 from this particular polling station. And maybe just to let you know some of the potential challenges that may occur later on, although the weather looks good, is the road network. If there was rain, then we may have problems getting the presiding officers from the other places getting to the main polling station where the tallying is going to be done. But so far, the weather looks good, so that might not be a challenge. The other challenge is telephone network. Because there are some areas where the network is not very stable, and initially they're going to be sending the reports via once they get the initial preliminary reports, they're going to be sending them via telephone networks, so that could also be a challenge. But without those two, all seems to be going on very well. Sophia.
Ask about that, Mike. I don't know if you still have the presiding officer with you, about the transmission of the results and how that will be working. So you said they will be using these phones and the network is an issue. Perhaps we could put that to her and hear what she has to say as far as the transmission of the results, and also how people who are not necessarily in Kajiado can still follow events.
Okay, she had to leave, unfortunately, but I had asked earlier how they're going to take care of that, and what they said is that the officers who are going to be in charge of that will try transmit via the mobile phone network. But if they do not have a network, then they will drive and manually bring them, and at the point where they get network, they'll send them through. But they're expecting that by maybe 7:30, 8 p.m., all those results should already be at the tallying center, and then they should be able to give us like an initial report as they compile and give us the final report.
Right. Excellent. So I'm looking forward, perhaps you can just grab one of those people at some point before we end the show to hear what the residents, as they vote, after they vote, what their thoughts are. It will be good to hear from them as well. As you mentioned there, where you're at that polling station, about 600 registered voters, already 70 have voted. It is 8 already this morning. So that's not too bad. We'll wait to see, because by-elections in the past, usually the turnout we've seen suffer quite a bit because work and other commitments that people still have to get to. But remember, in Kajiado Central, in the last general election, 2013, 92% turnout. So that was really good. We'll wait to see how this one pans out. Thank you, Michael, for that update. And continue to perhaps find out somehow how the other polling stations around the constituency are doing, so we can get a feel of the entire constituency as we cover the Kajiado Central by-election this Monday for you. So continue to stay with us. Michael Gitonga live for us from Kajiado Central. Let's continue with the way it is here in studio with Hassan Omar and Ambrose Weda. We're just talking about PAC wars and how Babu has been handling himself, saying that he's out to clear his name. Before we talk about the Agricultural Committee, because we saw some MPs saying that tomorrow they'll be releasing this dossier that also shows some of the mess that's going on there. Some have argued that even as the Powers and Privileges Committee looks into PAC, no matter what, even if they do a very good investigation, you come up with this final report, it still boils down to adoption, because it could still be rejected at that particular level, and so all this could be an exercise in futility. Weda?
I think if you look at how far Babu has gone, whether he clears his name or not is a question of credibility. Credibility shall have sunk because people have discussed, people have had innuendos and all sorts of things. So whether he's innocent or not, as chair of PSC, there are issues. Even if the Parliamentary Privilege Committee also investigates and clears, outside here, the dice is already cast. People are like, you people, you have now sent hyenas to clear other hyenas, and people will not believe because the public has smelt blood. So that damage being like that, the only way, in my view, would be whether Babu clears his name or not, is to say, look, because of 1, 2, 3, I quit. That same committee also requires to be reconstituted whether they are innocent, because they are strictly not innocent. When their own chairman says, even you people, you receive bribes, then even if they are clear that they never received, because bribes is like matters of sex, it's never done in the public. It's only those who do it who know. But outside, you can imagine. So whether or not they are cleared, the dice is cast. The committee needs to be disbanded. Babu needs to quit, and then we patch up, because it's still the same parliament. We patch up. We'll try to look for a few cents. It has emerged that the Senate, which was being taken as a nyumba ya wazee with very little agenda, has now for the last 2 years, apart from the debacle with the governors, have shown leadership in terms of mannerism, in terms of direction, in terms of order. You get it? So that this country can now depend more on the Senate. But these other charlatans in the National Assembly, they are just eating and bribes and so on. It's a shame.
Okay,
hardly has a report of a committee been overturned by the plenary. So I have a feeling that whatever the recommendations that come in terms of the reports, because evidentially, if I have said that my report is based on evidence and facts, unless I bring a different set of facts, it's very difficult to overturn a report of a committee. I know very few instances where we were able to overturn the report of a committee, and one of it was myself having been able to present a minority report in the impeachment of Kiala, and then the House adopted the minority report over the committee report, which I think means that that committee report was quashed by the minority report. So I have a feeling, unless somebody in the committee dissents and brings an alternative set of evidence, it's going to be difficult. Okay. But for once, I concurred with a lot of the editorials or the commentaries in the media on Sunday. It's the time I usually get a lot of time to read every little thing, and Parliament, particularly the National Assembly, must then go through a process for, maybe to just paraphrase what the process is, Weda usually keeps in charge, a process of redemption. It is going to be very difficult for them to be trusted by the Kenyan populace. Yeah. You know, like now when I don't know, I'm not urging cover up, right? You must bring things to public for. When you start thinking that, yes, if you took 1.5 million, I also saw you take another 1.5. And then it's not only me, I want you to also investigate the Agriculture Committee, the Lands Committee.
Link that as we wind up, because our time is up. Link that with me with the Agricultural Committee and these members who are saying that they are going to release this dossier that, again, will unveil the mess in that committee. I
think what has happened, even that mere threat has discredited the institution of the National Assembly. Yeah. And that comes partly, and I'm sorry to say this, I adore him at a personal level as a friend, because he stood by me in very thick times. Muturi, when he was at CMD, yes, and he expressed a lot of sympathy at the time when I was removed from school, from the university, Moi University. But the truth is, partly it stems from the fact that when the center can no longer hold, things fall apart. And I think that's exactly what is happening. The center must hold, and that's why sometimes...
So what does Muturi need to do then to clean this up, if you say there's a lot of blame that...
I think what he needs to do is to have a fresh start. He needs to call Kamukunji totally in camera, Kamkunji, then I hope the National Assembly members will not go out then giving media scoops, because this is how scoops are done. I stood up and I told them off. I've seen meetings where we have, Raila has sat with only 2-3 people, or even in this Ababu issue, where it has then ended up being a headline. So somebody from within that meeting went to brief the media. So I think they need an in-camera audit, and on the basis of that, they need to get move a step back so that they can then move some steps forward.
In less than a minute, yes.
I think the worst part, this corruption in Parliament has given the Jubilee administration a very bad tag, which not the president himself. It's like, your administration is corrupt through and through. It's unfortunate. It is the president bearing this burden. So parliamentarians, whether ODM, CORD or Jubilee, please put your house in order.
Yeah.
You know the president is not involved in corruption, but he takes responsibility. It's like, oh, you read your newspapers, they're like, this administration is too corrupt. Let parliamentarians take the lead. Although they have fallen short of the glory of the Lord, let them say, okay, we have been taking bribes, we have stopped.
Okay. All right. That's why we'll wrap it up. That is the way it is. This Monday, the 16th of March, with Hassan Omar and Ambrose Weda on our panel today. Thank you, gentlemen, and I wish you a lovely week.
Same to you.
All right, so we continue to cover for you the Kajiado Central by-election. Michael Gitonga is there. He'll continue to give us updates up to the end of the show.